Hello and welcome to another episode of The Story Behind the Stories, your weekly look at the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press and the stories behind it. I am sitting in the big chair today, even though the chair is the same size as the other chair I usually sit in, because Eoin apparently did all the work in the actual paper, so now I have to do all the work on the show. So I am here today with Eoin Devereux. He is our sports reporter and our everything else reporter, and a lot of the stories that we don't like to cover ourselves, so we just tell, oh, and he's got the most background in this stuff. Yeah. He can do that.
Oh, and you're old. You've been around. You've seen things.
Yeah, he can just bang that story out like nothing.
I don't think that's a prerequisite to go to a council meeting, you know.
The old people go to council because old is boring and council is boring, so they must like it, right?
Man, that's a headline right there.
I'm a little bit harsh today. I'm a little bit bitter that he's making me host, so I'm going to get the digs in when I can.
Well, I figured people, considering all the stories that are in here, people are going to be very bored of hearing my voice, if not already, you know, just from a regular show.
See, but you're the one that's the radio voice, so people shouldn't be bored of hearing your voice because you're the voice for radio.
That's the worst part of it right now. It's been coming up now on, I think, 7 years now here.
Oh, really?
So it's almost evening out now. You know, I'm not the radio guy anymore. I'm the
newspaper
I'm the newsy.
guy.
The not so new newsy.
No, yeah, the old newsy.
I thought that was Ken.
Yeah, well, he's the older newsy, the ancient newsy and the old newsy.
Yeah.
There we go. Getting to it. Apparently, I'm not very good at keeping on track, but we're going to start with the front page. We had Casper on a great little story here. The Brandon Road Rebels Car Club passed through town on Sunday, July 11th. And Casper was able to get some great photos. We've got kind of a sandwich of them. Obviously, on the front page here, you can kind of see it. You'll have to pick up a hard copy to see it in live, living color. But on the other side of the paper, on the back end, we also have a couple other pictures. So Cass was able to get some photos of some really cool classic cars, and people in Neepawa, people in Arden, and Carberry were all able to kind of watch them as they drove through. Mm-hmm. It was really cool. I actually happened to be kind of passing through town at that time when they were driving through, so I kind of saw a glimpse of them as they went by. And it's really neat, even if you're not a car person, which I'm not really. I like cars, but I'm not a gearhead or anything like that. It is cool to see, like, especially when they're all shiny and pretty and they got nice colors and they're different shapes because they're from different eras. It's really interesting to see all of those different cars. So it was great that Cass was able to go and take those pictures and see some neat roadsters.
What was interesting about that as well, Kira, is there were so many pictures that we could have used, mm-hmm. but and maybe it's the bad news is, but maybe it's good news, is we didn't have enough space mm-hmm. in the paper to be able to do it because we were just so packed mm-hmm. this week with breaking news as well, like news. Literally the deadline, stop the presses type news.
Yeah, exactly, literally. One of our breaking news stories was on the front page, which we originally had planned to give Casper's picture the full width of the page, make it as big and bright as possible, but there was some breaking news that came through that we just had to get in, and it was front page worthy, so that is another one of the announcement that Eileen Clark, our MLA for Agassiz, which is where we are, she is stepping down as the Indigenous and Northern Affairs Minister. So that was very big news, especially locally because she is our MLA. So we wanted to make sure that it was in a prominent place in the paper. And Eoin was like, it's got to be front page. So
okay, don't make it silly. It wasn't like that. It was like, hey, we should be front page. You know,
sure.
It's not,
that's what it was.
It's not like I took off my shoe and started slamming it on a desk. It's like
Ken does.
But it was so out of the blue.
Yeah.
It really was.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing was as well, we were planning on sort of being a little late going to print because of the second COVID restriction announcement. We knew they were going to be making changes to the COVID-19 restrictions for businesses and all that, so we wanted to get that to you. But then Eileen Clark thing came through that day, just only a touch earlier. It was like, oh, geez. And it made us feel like one of those dailies. Or it brought me back to radio days where you get into the office 5 minutes to the top of the hour, and the story you gathered, you got to have ready for the top of the hour.
Yeah.
It was like I said to both of you, it's like, this is the stuff that amps you up. This is what you live for. Maybe not every day, because then you're going to have an aneurysm of stress.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, it's all right.
It shakes things up a bit. It makes it a little more interesting.
I wish we could have had a little bit more information, but Eileen didn't want to take away. The Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs had their election on the exact same day this was announced, and she didn't want to take away from that. But, you know, now we have further information, and in next week's edition, we're going to have a big, full story with a lot more information about the reasoning behind it. So you're going to have to read this week's paper, and then you're going to have to pick up next week's paper.
Yep. And Owen's going to write that story too, because he just does everything, apparently.
The worst, wrote. It's as we record this, it's essentially done now. So
yeah, it helps when they send off the quotes and the information that you need right after we go to print, so you have a story ready to go for next week already. But yeah, moving on to the other breaking news that we did actually literally have to hold the presses for, was the announcement that was made yesterday, which was Wednesday, on the changing of restrictions again in Manitoba. And we were all waiting and ready, and we knew it was going to be some good news, and it is good news, and we were very excited. We were actually so excited that we missed one little crucial detail in the article. I'll admit it to you, because you might, when you read it, say, wait, when is this happening? So we have all the information of what is changing. We just don't have when it's actually going into place. But it's changing this Saturday, the 17th. Is that the date?
Yeah, I believe so.
The 17th. So now you know.
At midnight, 12:01.
12:01 on the 17th.
Yep.
So, and then all the rest of the details are in here of things that are opening up. A lot of things are going to 50% capacity. Some other things that weren't even allowed to open before, such as museums, theaters, galleries, they'll be allowed to open with certain restrictions about vaccinations and that kind of a thing.
Well, I'm sure you're amped, and you've said this in the office there. Movie theaters.
Yes, that's my favorite thing about this, is I've just been dying to go to a movie. So I'm really hoping that the movie theaters will be okay with doing the whole check for the double vaccinations and keeping with the restrictions, and we'll be ready to open and let me in to go see some movies, because I'm bursting at the seams.
Yeah, because like no matter how big your big screen TV is, the movie experience is a little bit different.
There is something very special about it, and I am a big movie person. I do love to see them in the theaters. So I'm very excited about that. And partially just as exciting is the fact that they have a limited capacity, so it's not going to be packed, because I don't really like packed movie theaters.
Well, that's a very good case there, Kira, because they announced sporting events as well as part of this, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are going to be having 100% capacity for double vaccinated individuals. And I'm a big sports guy, and I enjoyed immensely. And there used to be a time every year I'd go to at least one Bomber game, because it was a great experience. But maybe it's just my age, maybe it's just I'm sitting in the wrong section, but it's not as fun anymore. There's too many drunk idiots. And maybe it's because I've grown as a person and I'm not one of those drunk idiots anymore. You know, but now it's like, sit down. I'm trying to watch the game.
Right.
Yeah, it's just like, stay off my lawn.
Yell at this cloud.
Stop slouching. So, but again, it's that aside, it's still great to be able to go and do things like this again, even if it's only 50% capacity for a lot of them. And that's going to keep us busy. I'm sure there's a lot of organizations and a lot of businesses that we're going to be able to talk to over the next couple weeks and
Yeah.
get a perspective on.
Yeah, things are going to be starting to happen again, which is really exciting, and it's great for the news business because that means there is once again going to be some news.
What's going to be interesting is, and we talked about this, and maybe they're not ready to talk about it, but if you do want to talk about it, you can contact us. Any representatives from the Roxy Theatre, if they want to give us the lowdown on what might be happening. And I know it's probably going to be the bigger centers first. Winnipeg, Brandon theaters, they're going to get the first runs because smaller theaters like the Roxy, it's always difficult to sort of get those films in, even at the best of times. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out for them. So in the near future, I'm sure we'll be sort of checking in with them.
Yeah, we'll definitely be getting an update on them as soon as we can.
Yeah.
Moving along, another update that we got was courtesy of NACTV, doing a wonderful interview with the Beautiful Plains School Division Assistant Superintendent. And I actually wrote that story. I was able to watch the interview that Dave Bennett did, and you can watch the interview as well right here on NACTV. But basically it was a bit of an overview of what happened this school year, and potentially what will next school year look like. Not a whole lot of new information in terms of what the next school year will look like, but a lot of really good information because a lot of people are curious what it actually looked like inside the schools during a pandemic year. And this was the first year that they were able, or that they had to deal with it the entire year from September to June. So there was a lot of good information in there. I maybe wrote a little bit longer than I really needed to, but I thought it was very interesting. So I hope that you guys think it's very interesting too. Was there anything, did you actually read it, and was there anything that stood out to you when you read it?
I did actually read it, and we do have to do all the spell checks and all that there. And anyone who's read mine knows that thank God other people have to read it because otherwise the spelling would be abysmal. No, but it was interesting to get that perspective because it's been forever since I've been in school. And to sort of, obviously it's changed over the years, but this totally different scenario that they had to accommodate and had to get accustomed to. I couldn't even imagine trying to deal with the day-to-days on something like this. It's just like, how?
Yeah, exactly. And one thing that Krista noted quite often throughout her interview was that there was so much credit to the staff and to the students because there's so much extra work that goes into doing all of this stuff physically distanced and making sure you clean your hands and you wear your mask, and if you have to be doing it from home, learning how to use the computer and the programs that they're using and all of that kind of thing, there's so much extra work.
So many added stresses for the teachers that they had to go through, to both on location and, again, as you said, just adapting to the new technologies that you had to learn almost like that.
Yeah, and a lot of times the teachers were not only teaching in person, but they also had an extra class that was being taught that it's their same class, but it's in a different room because they didn't have enough space to distance in that classroom. So they have two classrooms plus sometimes online people. So there was 3 different things that they had to be paying attention to, plus whatever they're actually teaching. So there was quite a lot of aspects to it that we wouldn't necessarily think about. And I was really glad to be able to highlight what these teachers and what the students and what the parents actually went through this year.
What's going to be interesting, Kira, about that, because I'm sure there will be follow-up on this, with what's been happening, and unfortunately it hasn't infringed on us just yet, but it probably will, is the Delta variant. You can see in the United States it's really popping up in a lot of places, and it's sort of, we're getting out of our 3rd wave. I really hope Delta doesn't create that 4th wave where next year's seniors and next year's students have to go through all this all over again.
Yeah, because it's not only repetitive for the kids because they had to do this kind of the end of last year and then start this year with it, but it also kind of makes, as you said, the seniors lose out on their last year. It's supposed to be a big, great year. They're supposed to be able to have all of their sports and all of their events and their extracurriculars and do a big celebration at the end of it. And it's had to be so much more muted. and that just, it kind of is disappointing because the seniors know that this is their last chance to do this kind of stuff, and now it's gone, right?
Just imagine that, though. If you were a sophomore when all this occurred in March 2020, you were a sophomore and then you went through an entire year of this as a junior, and now you're a senior. Like, your entire high school experience is, in essence, well, the good years, because freshmen, freshmen get, maybe it's not that way anymore, but when in my day, freshmen were, freshmen didn't get much respect.
Freshmen were the punching bags.
Well, yeah, but I'm from a northern school, and northerners we're built a little bit different. So
a little rough around the edges.
Our recess games involved, punch.
Was there Judy at least?
No.
No Judy, just punch?
No.
Dang.
No, Judy was the one that punched me. She had a left you wouldn't believe. My God.
Oh, dang.
Still got a scar.
Gives you a good tale to tell. But yeah, if you want to read about what schools are like nowadays in our division, not Thompson's schools back in Eoin's day, you can see that on page 13 of the paper this week. One really big story that we had in this week that we were really excited for is something that Eoin covered, and I'm going to throw to him and let him talk about it now. Mm-hmm. It is the MultiUse trail park that's going to be going into Minnedosa.
It is a phenomenal announcement that came down earlier this week. It was debuted via a Facebook presentation. Representatives with Valley Life Rec made the announcement. They sent out the details to us. I had an opportunity to speak with, pardon me if I mispronounce it, Dave, but it was Dave Tournier, I believe. He spoke to me over the phone on this and about how excited they really are about this. Now, if you watch the show on a regular basis, and if you pick up our paper on a consistent basis, you know that Neepawa has the High Life Back 40, a tremendous trail system for walking, jogging, but mainly and especially for bicycling, all sorts of cycling. It's a great addition to Neepawa. There's also one in Dauphin, but now Minnedosa is getting in on this. Minnedosa has so many tourist attractions. They got all the cool stuff already.
They get everything.
Now they got to infringe on our stuff? But okay, but no, it's great to see that they're moving forward with this. $650,000 to put something like this together. That's a big chunk of change for a big pile of dirt. But fortunately, Alex Mann is the designer who designed Neepawa's course, is going to be working with Minnedosa on this. They are so excited, and they've got a few artist renderings that were forwarded to us. You can see the pictures. They are on page 9 of this week's edition. Some of the basic background details on it as well. I am very much looking forward to seeing how this develops. They're optimistic about 2022 rather, putting shovels in the ground and getting to work on that. But it all comes down to the money. They're putting out money requests for grants, federally, provincially, I'm sure. They're starting sponsorship programs. That was one thing Neepawa did that was very smart about that. They worked with the business partners in our community. I mean, that's why it's called the High Life Back 40, really. And it's hopefully Minnedosa will be able to do the same. I'm not going to throw any businesses out there right now because it's way too early in that conversation. But they are speaking with businesses in and around our region, in and around their region. So they're very optimistic and they're very hopeful that they're going to be able to get the wheels rolling on this, both figuratively and literally.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very exciting. Minnedosa quite often brags about how they're such a great outdoor destination because they have their beach, the lake. They have lots of trails already, but this will just add to the amazing outdoor facilities that they have that people can get out and get active and have some fun in.
Like, they really do have a lot of cool stuff. And then they have the rock in the fields. Well, under normal circumstances, they got rock in the fields. That's just...
Yeah.
Wait, I'm a member of Neepawa Tourism. Why am I hyping them up so much? Wait a minute.
Sounds like you're an inside spy or something like that. You're getting all this stuff from Neepawa and then telling Minnedosa, like, get this too. Get that. There's a trailer park here. Now you can compete with them on that.
Yeah, that's right. Valley Life has been cutting me checks for years. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
It all makes sense now.
That'll be our lead for next week.
There we go, front page. Before we get down too many conspiracy theory rabbit holes, there's some more work going on in another community that Casper was able to cover. The Manitoba Agriculture Museum is doing a lot of work. They're getting some repairs and some modernization. Their Pioneer Center is getting some repairs done. It's kind of their almost welcome mat, if you can call it that, of a building that when you first walk into the Egg Museum, that's kind of the first thing you see. So they're making sure that that gets updated and maintained, because they do talk about there were some leaks. And they don't want any of the stuff inside damaged. They don't want people to come in and see a leaky building, right? So they're getting all that kind of stuff done.
But wouldn't that give them the authentic Pioneer Times experience, though?
Well, but back when it was first built in Pioneer Times, it probably didn't leak until a few years later. So it'll be like when they first made the new building back in Pioneer Times. Yeah. But no, it looks really good. Cass was put on this lead by an announcement that was made from the province. We talked about it a couple weeks ago with the Gladstone Pool getting a lot of money through this program that I forget. Oh, Building Sustainable Communities program.
Yep.
So Gladstone Pool got that. Carberry, there was Cass got a story last week, I believe, about the park in Carberry getting some money for that. Yep. And the Manitoba Agricultural Museum was another that received some funds for that. They're getting 50% of that project funded by the Manitoba government, which is really cool to see.
And other places.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Yes.
Anyone who's watched the show knows that we've been sort of waiting with bated breath about potential other places. Still got nothing for you.
We're waiting on the announcement on that.
Any day now, we hope to be able to share information with you about things and people who do stuff.
Yes.
You think that was vague enough?
I think so. I mean, you did say people, so that was a little too specific.
Oh, my bad.
But also in Austin, though, at the Manitoba Egg Museum, they're going to be moving another old building, adding that to their village, basically. It is a flat warehouse that might still be in Brookdale. I'm not sure if they've started moving it or not, but its original location is in Brookdale, and it was used back before elevators to store grain and a lot of other agricultural implements. Now I think it is used more for storage of equipment and that kind of a thing, but they're going to be moving that to the Manitoba Egg Museum in Austin as well.
What's interesting about that, Kira, as well, and you're going to have to pick up a copy of the paper to see a much clearer version of it, is the artist's renderings of how it actually operated inside and through the side there. It shows just how the horse and wagon would come in there, how they'd get it all out of there and ship it and all that. It was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it looks like a heck ton of work, pardon my French, but it looked like a lot of work for those farmers. So it was really cool to see kind of how they did it back in the day. And Casper was able to get a little bit of background information on that for us, even though their name isn't necessarily on that page. That's kind of where all of the information came from. So good on you, Casper, for getting some good coverage of the Manitoba Egg Museum. Because we don't always often get down to Austin for that kind of thing. So,
right.
Another story that we have, this is maybe not as good of a news story. This is kind of an unfortunate news story. We had a local contact us, and I won't use their name because they preferred me not to, but they called and they let us know of a scam that they came across and unfortunately fell for. They were trying to sell a truck, and they put it up on Kijiji, on the online classified website Kijiji, and they got some contacts from outside of the province saying, oh, we'd be interested, but you have to do a vehicle background check for us, and then we'll talk about buying it. So they sent these individuals that contacted the seller, sent the seller a link to a website to get a background check, and the person paid for the background check, and it ended up that there was no background check. So there's some details in there about that. I'm not going to go too much into detail because we're getting short on time, but it's very important for people to know about these things and to be up to date on what the scams are out there. So I was very thankful to the individual for reaching out to us and letting us know about the scam so that other people will know about it and be a little bit more cautious about it.
That's right. I mean, something like that, it can be embarrassing for an individual, for that person to sort of step up in this manner and share the experience. We are appreciative of that, and every individual, you shouldn't feel shame or anything like that if you're caught up in something like that. I mean, it's a learning experience. The best thing to do is share your experience, share your story, and let's spread the message in terms of that and get rid of those scammers.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know that it was as much embarrassment as it was, they said, these people, they have my contact information, and if they find out that I'm reporting this and making it public, they might want to do some harm. So I think it was more about protection rather than shame in this case. But yes, it can be embarrassing because you look back on it and you think, oh, I should have known that. I should have looked more into it, right? Yeah. So, but yeah, definitely it is good to share this message because when you know that there's something out there that could be iffy, then you know to look into it before you actually put your money into it. Very quickly, we're going to touch on next week. We have an event coming up, and it is the Riverbend Market, Makers Market in Neepawa, and that is a Neepawa tourism event organized and all dealt with by Neepawa Tourism. Eoin quickly got some information together for us to get a story in the paper. Yeah, so things are happening. They're hoping for maybe some volunteers to come and step up. Eoin, you are with tourism. Maybe you want to put your little spiel in here quickly.
Well, really, I'll take a moment away from hyping up Minnedosa to talk about the Makers Market here in Neepawa area, apparently. I had an opportunity to speak with Kelsey Wilson about that. She has been so hands-on getting this work done, and she's been the rock, the foundation for the Makers Market. It's coming along, the vendors, great number of vendors going to be there. We got the social distancing all amped up, all set to go. Even though we can have 50% capacity at this, we're still following all the proper safety protocols. And we do hope that if you attend, that you will be respectful and follow those as well, okay? Because I got a shift as one of the monitors out there. Don't make me bring thunder and lightning down on you, all right?
Yeah, we don't want Punch and Judy involved.
That's right. But we're expecting to have a lot of fun with it. You can see a center spread, 3 pages actually, of businesses that are supporting it. You can see the story as well on page 3. It's really blown up into something I hope we can do annually.
Yeah. So thank you for covering that very quickly because we're running out of time. We're going to start wrapping things up here. First of all, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for everybody who brings stories to us and lets us know about things that are happening so we can cover the news. If you have a story lead or an event that you know of or something that you think that we should cover, you can definitely get in contact with us. Our phone number is 476-3401. You can also email us at news@neepawabanner.com. That goes to Eoin. You can email me at pages@neepawabanner.com if you think that I do a better job.
She'll answer you back a little more promptly.
Yeah, he just gets flooded with emails, so maybe you want to email me and I'll see it first. I don't know. But don't email me if it's a dumb one. I don't know. Give that to Eoin.
If it's sports.
Yeah, exactly. Or counsel. Give that to Eoin. And if you have advertisement, that's what pays our bills. That's what pays the employees. So we love that. You can email that to ads@neepawabanner.com. And thank you again for watching. I hope you enjoyed my little interim hosting. Maybe I'll be back. I don't know. We'll see you on another edition of The Story Behind the Stories next week.